We are on air live. Hello.
Hi,
Welcome
Don.
to, hey, Gary. Welcome to Innovators Pod, the follow-up podcast for Innovation Night's presenters. My name is Don Schwartz, and this is show number 1, broadcast February 10th, 2015. Today's guest is Gary Grimard, co-founder of the startup LifeLight. Hey, welcome, Gary. You dug
Thanks,
out of the
Don.
snow yet?
Good to be here. Yeah, the Northeast, we've certainly, you can see the palm tree over my left
Yeah.
shoulder here.
Last Wednesday, you said that was my beach, I think. So.
It, it might still be the case, Don. You don't have to shovel, do you?
Oh, I have to shovel. But I have a snowblower, and I've been out every single day, twice a day for the last 2 weeks.
Great. Maybe we'll run
Farmer's
marathons
crazy.
and triathlons.
So, Gary, you work out of the Alpha Loft in Portsmouth, I guess, and also down in Beverly.
Right, we have 2 locations right now. Our corporate headquarters is located in Beverly, Cummings Center,
Mm-hmm.
um, and we do have a location at the Alpha Loft in Portsmouth on Green Street.
Good. That's the one location I haven't been at. I'm a member of Alpha Loft also. I hang out at the Alpha Loft in Manchester.
Yeah,
So, Sun Life Light. I've seen the light. Just tell people quickly that it's a blue light lamp that sits on your desk next to your workstation, and it helps us get more sunlight while we work inside. And I'll let Gary try to explain it. I'd like to hear about you and your partner Allison. A little bit of a history of how this came about.
Sure. I like that you've seen the light, Don. We like it when people say that.
Yes.
I've seen the light as well. But my background is about 30 years, although I hate to say that, but 30 years in technology, uh, mostly in semiconductors. And Allison comes from the medical industry. She's a licensed social worker and clinical psychologist. So I have owned and operated several businesses in the technology space. And Allison had approached me about 18, 20 months ago and mentioned how several of her patients that she had been seeing used light therapy to treat some of their depression-related disorders. And she works in an interior office at one of the local Boston area hospitals with no windows, no light, fluorescent overhead lighting, very tiny. And she said basically that her treating patients and not having access to a light that she could use in her office was problematic. So we looked to see if we could find something that she could use in an office setting. Lo and behold, there was nothing that was really uh, usable without being overly disruptive in an office environment. And I said, I can build something. And so we raised some seed money, $100,000, and
Nice.
in 9 months we produced our minimum viable product that we were able to get into the hands of several local enterprise clients, including Digital Credit Union, TJX, the TJ Maxx and Marshalls holding company, uh, Barclays, the wealth management company, several other large-scale enterprises, all having an extreme interest in trying to bring some innovative, revolutionary products that will help improve their employee base wellness and health, and ultimately improve productivity for the enterprise. And so we've gained lots of traction, a lot of interest, and now we're ready to take that next leap into production.
Oh, great. Yeah, I remember seeing on some TV show the some of these things about SAD. I know, and people that sit at home in front of a huge light. And I guess that's what you say. You couldn't bring that into an office environment, so you've made something that fits within an office a little bit better, right?
Yeah, correct. So we are not the originators of the science or the technology
Right.
of light therapy. I think we all instinctively know that being out in the sun is beneficial for us. And as a matter of fact, we're wired to live outdoors. Unfortunately, since the Industrial Revolution, we've all moved indoors over the last 200 years. And most of us, particularly in the technology industry, spend about 90% of our time indoors. So when we saw the available technology that was purpose-built to treat seasonal affective disorder,
Mm-hmm.
and therefore those patients could dedicate time out of their day to sit in front of these lamps that wash the entire room that they happen to be in either white light or in a disruptive blue type of light. And so what we've done is built a compact desktop desk lamp looking device that delivers the proper wavelength of light, and it can be elegantly placed in and around an office workstation environment and doesn't disrupt the normal flow of an office setting and delivers the energizing effects of sunlight throughout the day. So we think that we've simply revolutionized a technology that's been around for 30 plus years and done it in a fairly simple and straightforward manner.
Well,
Go ahead.
it's always good to improve the delivery platform and how you get something into people's hands.
Right. In the past, people have been using light therapy, particularly for depression-related disorders. But what the medical industry has found is that everyone suffers to different degrees when they spend their days indoors and out of the sun, sunlight deprived, as the industry calls it. So no matter who you are, you can't possibly perform at your peak if you happen to work indoors. And although some of us are able to, discard the way we normally feel and just accept it as normal when we're indoors, we're not able to perform at our peak in cognitive functioning, focus, energy, drive, mood.
Hmm.
All of those elements are negatively impacted by spending our days indoors. And so we built something that everyone can use, no matter what their circumstances are throughout the day.
Okay. Um, what about the light that comes in through windows? I get that must. I think I've heard that gets filtered or something.
Yeah, it's interesting. That's
You're in a sunny office.
one of the first comments that we get is, "Oh, my office has 5 windows in it, so I get plenty of sunlight." Well, in fact, there is light that comes through those windows that's enough to illuminate the interior of an office. But there's a specific wavelength of light that is the only effective wavelength, and that's a sky blue color. So it's not coincidentally the color of a bright sunlit sky. 480 nanometers is the spectrum that we're talking about, and most of that spectrum is filtered out through the low E coatings of most glass that's been produced
Right.
over the last 50 years. And that's good. It prevents the ultraviolet rays from getting through. It prevents other harsh rays from washing out carpeting, things of that nature.
Mm-hmm.
So in normal, just transparent, translucent glass, you would see negative impacts inside of an office. But most modern windows filter out all of the negative rays. So yes, you do get light,
Mm-hmm.
but you do not get the effective light to change your circadian rhythm and balance your hormone levels and improve that energy
Okay.
that,
And
that this particular lamp and others do.
now you mentioned that this is actually it's app controlled, and that's another strong feature is that it learns what you need, I guess. Or
Right. So as part of this revolutionary effort that we've had, we wanted to bring things that people in the tech sector and other office professionals would use as a daily course, and that includes applications. So we were able to take the Internet of Things inputs, for instance, weather that is published, everywhere, we're able to take that based on a GPS locational element in your smart tablet or smartphone device
Okay.
and incorporate that information into our algorithm to calculate what's best for dawn, for instance. On any particular day, how does dawn react to a rainy Monday? Um, we're also able to take in other elements, including sleep quality, if you happen to wear a wearable device, or now several mattress manufacturers are capturing your sleep quality and reporting that up to the cloud. We can read all of those elements into our algorithm and weight the recommendation based on what we receive for that kind of feedback. So if Dawn gets 4 hours of sleep, wakes up Monday morning after the Patriots had played until midnight Sunday night, we know that your rest was not great. It's a rainy Monday morning, and you have a very full schedule of meetings. So we're going to deliver the maximum level of sunlight, perhaps, through this algorithm so that Dawn is energized throughout the day, regardless of the outside circumstances and the environment that you happen to be in for that particular day.
I think I need this because we haven't had rainy Mondays. We've had 3 snowy Mondays in a row.
Yes, I don't know how much of the rest of the world happens to suffer the way we have been suffering over the last 4 weeks, but certainly the northeast of the United States has been slammed with dark, snowy days.
It's all my fault. I plead guilty because back in December when we had we had the snowstorm over Thanksgiving and then no snow. And I'm one of those that started wishing for more snow because my son is in the ski industry and I ski. So
I've
it's
been
my
trying
fault.
to find the person, the culprit responsible for the snow.
I'm guilty. So,
It's interesting. If I can interject one more point on
yep.
the windows, so we get asked that all the time, and certainly the industry, the uh, facilities industry and architectural industry is building buildings with as many windows as possible, and that's a beautiful thing. So there's no downside to putting windows into buildings, except for the cost. And lots of buildings are renovating and retrofitting to increase the number of windows in office buildings. Perfectly fine. It's a great thing, and it does have a psychological impact because you can look outdoors, see the snow, see the green grass, or whatever your environment has to offer, and that does boost your mood psychologically. The physiological impact, again, is lost through that sunlight coming into the windows. But the cost associated with adding windows is extraordinary. When what we, like to say is, hey, if you can bring sunlight for a small price per workstation, it's far more cost effective to do so and give the same benefits, greater benefits.
What about factory floors? Have you looked at that or?
Yeah, so the part of the analysis when we decided to build the lamp the way we did is if you wash an entire area in the proper light spectrum, you can't possibly deliver, at least with today's technology, the what we call radiometric power uh, of light necessary to effect change. So if you think of ceiling lamps, you can't get enough of that 480 nanometers at
Mhm.
the power level when it's only in your ceiling fixtures to have any kind of discernible impact.
Right.
So by delivering the lamp directly to the user's eyes, the way the LifeLight does,
Hmm.
now those people that use the lamp has unwasted energy delivered directly to where the proper location is. So in a ceiling fixture, the energy radiates everywhere.
Right.
It's not focused and directionalized, and therefore you have to really have a high level of power, and that's not
Okay.
feasible at this stage.
Okay. Um, Any way you can show it to us, or do you have a presentation?
I do have a presentation that we can step through, and it does have images of the lamp.
Okay. Because you really can't show it. I mean, if you shine the light at me, would the blue light come through? I don't think so.
Yeah, well, you could certainly see the lamp, but you wouldn't get that power benefit.
Okay.
Not a bad idea, though. Maybe in the future we'll.
Well, let me give you control, and we can maybe see your slideshow.
Sounds good.
You are the presenter now. The green button. Oh, there it is.
You can see it. That's good.
It's looking good.
So as we discussed, LifeLight delivers the first app-controlled, connected sunlight delivery system that's specifically designed for today's workstations. The reason that we targeted workstations, my career has been in and around computer displays for the entire time. And we spend far too much time indoors. I'm a fitness enthusiast and certainly love to be outside. So to be able to bring the benefits of sunlight inside, there are plenty of homes for the LifeLight in and around workstations in particular. So this is what I think we'd all like to have as an office setting. And I had mentioned to you last week at the New Hampshire Innovations Night presentation that we did that this looks an awful lot like your office, Don.
Oh yeah, that's beautiful.
It is. You must be out at a meeting or something.
Yeah, I could work there with my laptop and my phone.
So this, sadly, is more typically the office environment that I think we're all familiar with. Overhead fluorescent lighting or incandescent lighting of some sort, windows along the outside walls, of course. But again, rainy days, etc., we don't have the luxury of staying at home during rainy days. So even if you did have windows, and somehow you wouldn't still get the light necessary on rainy days. The point is that windows are great. They don't affect this element that we address. So rather than having offices located on these tropical paradises, we would rather bring a LifeLight in to every workstation environment. But as I mentioned earlier, the last 200 years has shown us moving to a much more indoor society, and that continues. We're all built to be outdoors, and we perform best when we are. If we can harken back to the caveman days, they woke without alarm clocks, of course. The sun came up, the body kicked in with the serotonin levels increasing, and several other events as a result helped us to perform during the day. Cognitive functioning, focus, mood, energy, etc., etc. But as we moved indoors, we lose those benefits. There have been links made to type 2 diabetes, obesity, depression, all that appear to be headed for an epidemic proportions. And there have been links drawn to the lack of sunlight, the lack of outdoor exposure that we have as a global population exhibited over the last 200 years as one of the root causes to these issues. Talked about this a little bit.
Right.
There are items, or I should say costs associated with depression-related issues, with obesity, type 2 diabetes. The depression-related costs in particular, $620 per employee that enterprises spend annually as a result of their employees not being able to operate at their peak for one reason or another. Oftentimes these depression-related costs appear when a gloomy Monday, a rainy Monday, people just don't feel energized enough to get into the office and they call in sick. Those costs accumulate over the year, and again, $620 per employee ends up being a very hefty cost for the enterprises, not to mention the poor health and wellness of the employees themselves. So our mission is
Oh, there's me on my desk. Yep.
Yes, there you go, Don. Nice.
Sorry.
Take an afternoon nap and everything. Don't
Yep.
even have to move. So our mission is to actually bring the benefits of sunlight, improve health and wellness, and improve productivity or increase productivity for the enterprises as a result. It can be done very simply with the use of the LifeLight. So just to rehash what we've already gone through, essentially the LifeLight is controlled by a mobile app or tablet device. It can also be plugged into workstation computers as well, if that's the only access that the particular user has. It's connected in that the app will aggregate information from various Internet of Things inputs, as I mentioned, weather, sleep quality, schedule, athletic team schedules, and it's a growing list. As more sensor-based inputs report up to the cloud, we'll be able to refine and optimize the delivery of sunlight for each individual user. It learns, so the user provides some subjective feedback at the end of every day if they choose to,
Okay.
and the application will get smarter relative to that user's experience every day and as time goes on. So similar to the Nest, which is the home automation system that Google acquired, learns your patterns, learns your temperature levels. Our product will do the same thing essentially in gathering information and refining our delivery of sunlight based on the individual user's preferences. Color of your eye, shape of your brow, shape of your cheekbone area, all of this impacts the level of sunlight that each individual might need for their peak performance. The other element is that the lamp is what we think a sexy, very usable, highly flexible lamp that will fit into any office decor and simply deliver the sunlight in a perfect angle downward into the eye and avoid any type of glare that might be induced otherwise. We're unique in that regard, and we think we have a very user-friendly lamp. And you can see this particular company made the right choice and decided to deploy them on every workstation setup. So obviously these are photoshopped in, but as enterprises choose to deploy this health and wellness benefiting product, this is something similar to how it will be deployed on each and every workstation. Similar to boarding a new employee with a phone, a computer, a chair, and a LifeLight. That's what our expectation is.
Nice, cool.
So if there's interest, let me show the science behind this. People ask this often, and I won't bore everybody with these details, but the sky blue light enters the eye, and we're all familiar from our 8th grade science classes about the rods and cones in our retina.
Yep.
Those elements are for our visual system, and the sensors that help us balance our hormonal levels and circadian rhythm are non-visual sensors that are also deployed throughout the retina. They're called intrinsically photosensitive retinal ganglion cells. They're made intrinsically photosensitive through this photopigment called melanopsin. It was fairly recently discovered, actually, back in 2002. So it's a fairly new item, and our product takes advantage of that state-of-the-art science that points to that particular color. Again, it's not coincidental that sky blue is the color that affects all of these particular elements. So we deliver that sky blue, we deliver it at the proper angle into the eye and to the particular photopigment that responds and triggers this sequence of event in all of us that help make us perform at our peak.
That wasn't boring.
Oh, good.
That was pretty good. That made it understandable. Now I think I understand why it's working.
I'm glad. So
So
did I hand it back off to you, Don?
I'll take it back, actually,
Okay.
but I'll leave you up on screen. So it's actually shining blue light into my eyes. Okay, if
That's
I
correct.
understand. Okay.
Right.
I've heard this mention of the vitamin D effect, and
So,
vitamin D doesn't actually come from the sun, I don't think.
well, it does indirectly. So we get asked that quite a bit. It starts with, can I get a tan with the light? And no, you can't. The light is perfectly safe. We don't deliver ultraviolet rays. And ultraviolet rays are actually the rays that react with the skin and cause the body to produce vitamin D. So in this generation of product, we only deliver that 480 nanometer blue light. It's not ultraviolet. So we don't impact the body's ability to create vitamin D. We will, however, in future products, likely add some low level of ultraviolet rays from the lamp in some way, shape, or form, so that in contact with the hands, perhaps, we'll be able to impact the body's delivery of vitamin D in a very natural, perfectly natural way.
Okay. That's obviously going to be a secondary benefit. The main benefit is the blue light, obviously.
Correct. Right.
Okay. Trying to think of any other questions for you, but I just love the idea of this product, and I really want one because I work in a basement office all day on days that I'm not in Manchester. When I'm in Manchester, I walk around downtown. I try to walk a couple of miles every day, and I'm obviously getting some light then.
Of course, and that's great. Anybody fitness, physical activity, that's the best. The way, think back to, again, the cavemen days. Those cavemen that happen to live in Scottsdale, Arizona, where it's sunny, maybe 89% of the time, if they spent 8 hours a day outdoors, they would not need the LifeLight,
Right.
sadly. So we might lose those cavemen. But most everybody else requires it, whether you live in Scottsdale, Arizona, or Boston, Massachusetts. If you work indoors, you don't get nearly enough sunlight to create a peak performing bodily mechanism for any of us.
Right.
So.
Okay. So what's your next step? Are you going to market? Are you looking to raise more funds? Are you doing a crowdfunding or anything like that?
Right. So we have had our lamps deployed at several enterprises, as I mentioned earlier, and we've gained some very constructive feedback in the production design of the lamp.
Mm-hmm.
So we are actually integrating a touchscreen onto the base of the lamp so that in the case where you might have forgotten your mobile device, smart device, what have you, you'll still be able to operate the lamp by just using the touchscreen. We haven't completed that production redesign, but we are expecting to do so within the next 10 days, at which point we'll launch it for a build of 500 units to our contract manufacturer. In parallel, we of course are raising funds. So everything that we've done so far has been on that $100,000 raise, that's seed funding. We are looking for $350,000 total that we can either raise in exchange for equity or bootstrap to profitability. So we're very excited by the want and need of our client base out there, and the feedback that we've received has been very positive. Now we're just looking to build units so that we can sell them. Of course, cash infusion accelerates the growth and scale, but we're okay doing it with a bootstrap approach. We are going to be launching an Indiegogo campaign either this coming Monday or the following Monday. Depends on when we actually kick off our production build. And so I would love to keep anybody interested posted on our Indiegogo launch, and certainly we'll look for anybody that's interested in buying one for themselves, or if they happen to run an enterprise or small business. Certainly any of your employees that happen to use a computer could benefit by using them as well. So yes, we would love to have people seek us out, but we will do our best to keep everyone posted on how they can buy LifeLight.
Well, if you let me know about that Indiegogo campaign, I'll announce it on our social channels and on our website. And I assume they can find that'll be on your website, sunlifelight.com.
That's correct. Well done.
Okay.
Yep.
I guess I'll let you go. I want to, thanks, Gary, for your time, and thank you to our listeners. And I wanted to speak to the listeners. If you find this a useful podcast, please share it with your friends and your associates. And you can follow us on Twitter at InnoPod. That's INNOPOD, or on Google Plus. Look for Innovators Pod. Thanks again, Gary, and enjoy the snow. Have a good day.
Thank you very much, Don. Take care.
Catch you later.